Hello and welcome back to my channel. My name is Dwayne. I got a video for that. Kimball, United States Army veteran and retired VA rating specialist. In today's video, I am going to be discussing my VA claims process as a former VA employee. Now, I know you're going to be saying, Dwayne, what does that have to do with the VA claims process? I'm doing this video for two reasons. One, a lot of people have been saying, Dwayne, the process was easier for you because you were a VA employee. So as I go through this video, you understand that VA employees have it a little bit harder, okay? And number two, I have been getting several comments from veterans saying, I'm just gonna give up. I'm just gonna give up. And that's something that you shouldn't do. So as I share this information, I hope that adds fuel to the fire so you don't give up. So let's go ahead and get into it. Before we get into today's video, make sure you click the link in the description section and get signed up for my upcoming webinar, How to Win Your VA Compensation Claim. Now, we still have seats available, so make sure you get signed up today. Today's video, my VA claims process as a former VA employee. I rated for years for the Department of Veterans Affairs, trained by the Department of Veterans Affairs, okay? Now, two things I want you to keep in mind as I go through and explain my process. This is for veterans that say, Dwayne, I'm just gonna give up. Do not give up. I have over 500 videos to include live streams on my YouTube channel that will help you be successful. And guess what? These videos are free. Two, I wanna make it very clear that this is no way, shape, or form that I'm bashing the VA. I'm just explaining my process. And to let you know, veterans that are VA employees, they don't always have it easy as most people think, okay? So I had to jot down some things so I can stay on track so this video doesn't turn out to be really long, okay? So the first thing, 12 years, I didn't file my first claim until 12 years after I left the military, okay? One of the main reasons is I didn't know. I knew of the VA, but I didn't know that veterans could get VA compensation. I just thought the VA was for like World War II vets, Korean War vets, or Vietnam vets, or like a nursing home for veterans. That's all I thought it was, okay? Until my second day on the job when I got hired as a VA rating specialist, and that's where my journey started. Someone that hired in with me and that was in my rater class said, hey, Dwayne, are you a veteran? Yeah, I'm a veteran. You getting compensated? No. Well, at lunch, we'll file a claim. I said, hey, well, what can I claim? And she said, claim everything that hurt. And guess what? That was some bad information. And it took me the next 4 or 5 years to correct some of the mistakes that I made. Because by the end of the week, when I learned what the 5 ways of service connection is, I knew half the things that I claimed I was not going to get service connected for because they didn't fall under the 5 ways of service connection, okay? 2, I obtained a VSO. Now, it is my opinion that veterans need to be educated over representation. So understand, and I'm going to explain why I had a VSO. I had a VSO not to represent me. Okay, they filed one claim for me and I felt so detached from my claim, they never filed another claim again for me, ever, okay? I did it myself. The reason why I had them is because VA employees cannot see their own claims file. We would have to submit a FOIA request, and back then everything was paper, so it was taking sometimes 2 years to get it because publications had to get the paper file out of a lock box, right? Take it and print everything, meaning put it in a copier and print it, okay? So it took an extra long time to get that paperwork. And so our claims were handled at a different regional office. So the VSO had access to other VSO at their regional office. They could pick up the phone and call and say, hey, I need you to go look in this file. We need to get this information, that information, and stuff like that. Whenever I tried to call that particular VSO office in the Atlanta regional office, they were, one, very rude, didn't pick up the phone or didn't call me back. And when they did pick up the phone, again, they were rude, and then they would, take months to get back with you, okay? So I was like, I got to take the bull by the horns and adjudicate my own claim, all right? Then CMP exams. I had a total of 4 VA CMP exams. All of them were done through the VA Medical Center, okay? Because back when I was adjudicating my claim, there was no third-party CMP exams. I think the last 2 years is when the third-party CMP exams came about, okay? So when the DBQs were introduced by the VA, after that 4 CMP exam, I said, I'm never going again. Out of the 4, 2 exams were awesome. The examiners paid attention, they took notes, and I got obviously I got a favorable decision. The 2 other examiners, they were horrible. One examiner even made the statement, are all you people naturally big? And my response to him was, are all you people naturally short? Okay, and it went left from there. I knew he wasn't gonna grant anything. Actually, he granted something, but it was at a 0%, which was incorrect. Okay, now the other examiner, she, I'm surprised she even still have a job if she's still working at the VA. She should not be working at the VA in that particular capacity. She didn't ask questions. Well, she did ask questions, but she was more interested, well, what do you do for the VA? What do you do? And I'm like, I'm not here for that. You don't need to know what I do. But I knew within the first minute or 2 of that CMP exam, I wasn't going to get approved for anything, and I didn't. So I had to end up appealing it, and I'll get into that in a minute. Now, rating decisions. I had several rating decisions. Now, someone that's trained by the VA to rate claims, we have to be able to look at other rating decisions to see if there's CUEs, were there any errors? And I can say 80% of the rating decisions that I received had more than 1 CUE in it, especially the first one. My first ever rating decision, I want to say it had about 4 or 5, maybe 6, 4, 5 or 6 CUEs in the rating decision. I was totally shocked. And I'm like, how does a rater get away with this? In the Atlanta regional office, that rated us, most raters that was sensitive 7, they get away with it often. Well, at least back then they did, okay? The CMP exams never went back. After those 4 CMP exams and those 2 that were really horrible, DBQs were made public. And I said, you know what? I'm going to get my own doctors to do my own DBQs. And that's exactly what I did. And at that time, that's when I started to see success. Okay, one of the times anyway, I started to see success because I had all my VA claims file information. I found doctors that either were treating me or doctors that were willing to complete DBQs the correct way, okay? Because I lost all trust in the CMP exam process based off those 2 examiners. Now, here's a caveat for you. That one examiner that stated, are all you people naturally big, he was supposed to measure range of motion using a goniometer. He didn't. And I called him out on it. I even filed a complaint with the director that was over the VA Medical Center. And his supervisor got involved. Fast forward a few months, guess who I started getting CMP exams from? This doctor that I filed a complaint against. And I noticed that he was not putting in the CMP exam that he measured the veteran's range of motion using a goniometer. Okay? And I told my supervisor, I said, hey, I think this is a conflict of interest. And I told her what happened I told her the exchange that we had in the C&P exam, and she went to the front office, meaning upper management. They said, no conflict of interest. So I kicked the exam back. In your exam, you stated that you did not use a goniometer per M2138 CFR. You are supposed to use a goniometer to measure the range of motion. So he sends the file back. And back then it was paper, it wasn't electronic. So these files actually had to leave the regional office and go physically by FedEx, I think they used FedEx, to that VA medical center. And it went back and forth like 2 or 3 times. I get an email from his supervisor, and she was like, oh yeah, I know he uses a goniometer. I was like, ma'am, no, you're wrong. I say, you remember that complaint that you had to answer? I say, that was me. So he didn't use a goniometer in my exam, and he's doing the same thing to other veterans, and it's not right. And now he got his hand caught in the cookie jar. Dead silence on the phone. So about a couple weeks later, get the exam back, and the veteran had to report back because he had to use a goniometer, okay? So just keep that in mind, and this is why I talk in some of my videos, I talk about this particular subject matter to educate you, okay? Now, then we get to the appeals process. And the appeals process for me was, I would say, it was sort of easy, but a little bit complicated. And here's why. I felt that mine was straightforward. I appealed about 8 different things. And for those of you that don't know what appeal is, it's basically the high-level review. Now, I go into the informal conference on video. I claim 8 different things on high-level review, walk out. I win every single one. And the reason why I was able to do that is because at this particular time, years later, I built my entire VA claims folder. I had full transparency. Everything that they saw, I had in my claims file as well. And one of the big things was they were trying to get me to go to QTC. QTC was relatively new. And I said, no, the DBQs that I have, according to 38 CFR 3.326 subpart B and subpart C, you can use to rate the case. I don't want there to be any conflicting medical evidence. And then I asked the decision review officer, I said, hey, why do the VA have the DBQs public on their website and some VA employees don't want to use them? No answer, because there was no answer for her to give other than, you're right, I can use these. She knew I was a VA rater. She knew I was trained by the VA. She knew I knew what makes a DBQ and Nexus, if needed, sufficient for rating purposes, because I received the same training that she received, okay? And I walked out of there, won everything that I claimed. Had my VSO with me. Only thing he did was introduce us. That was it. But I made that clear before I walked into the C&P exam. Now, lastly, management. Management. There are several good managers, supervisors, in my opinion. But I think there's more that are not so good than the good ones, okay? And here's why. When I was going through this process, I reached out to 2 managers. One later got busted back down to a VSR. And then he started saying, oh, all the management, they this. And I was like, hey, you were a manager at one time. So you're talking about yourself and you allowed that to go on. You fell into that trap of doing that. You know, so him and I didn't see eye to eye. And I went in and I explained some concerns about the Atlanta regional office and what they were doing and the amount of CUEs that were coming out of that office. It was like, hey, who do we talk to about this? Fell on deaf ears. Years later, I go to the regional office director, and she just basically looked at me like a deer in the headlights. And I said, hey, are you going to write any of this stuff down? She got one of those 3M sticky notes, yellow sticky notes, and she just wrote some stuff on it, kind of pushed it away and dropped a pen on her desk. And I knew right there and then, it's a bunch of BS that they were spewing in town halls when they talked about it's about the veteran. It's about the veteran. And it wasn't. It was about, I felt, It was about numbers for them so they could get a bonus, okay? And at that point, I was like, you know what? Every veteran that comes across my desk is 100% until the 38 CFR and the M21 manual reference or any court case wouldn't allow me to give them 100%. That's the way my mindset was going forward. I didn't feel that some of them was for the veteran. It was about numbers, okay? So before I wrap this video up, again, I want to make sure that you understand I did this video not to bash the VA, but one, to give fuel to the veterans that want to give up, give fuel to their fire to not give up. And two, to give you a little bit of insight of what I went through and what happens on the inside of the VA that you may not be aware of. Now, it could be a different regional office, another VA employee maybe went through something totally different. This was part of my experience, okay? So with that being said, make sure you like, subscribe, hit that notification button, and don't forget to share this video with your fellow veterans. Thank you.